Welcome everyone to Charts Focus 1, where we teach you how to work hard and trade smart. Alright, let's go ahead and start with the markets. So SPY on Friday, it kind of gave me a sense that we're in a limbo here. So I'm basically 50-50. On one hand, I'm a bit bullish, and the other hand, I'm a bit bearish. And here's the reason why. So first of all, the reason why I'm bullish is that we've been consolidating pretty well, and that's allowed us to see my 10 SMA, which is one of my SMAs that's paired with my 21, making it a momentum pair. It's caught up, right? And it's supporting the price up higher at this point. We saw that between the price action of Thursday and Friday. So this tells me that there is still some momentum left, and for the fact that we have closed above that 395 support level. Now, if you guys remember, we have a heavy level of supply between 395 to 400, a nice 5-point range. So for the fact that we ended up on the week above the 395 support level, just tells me that yes, there are buyers who are willing to defend this support area, and there are buyers, well, there could be buyers who are willing to push the price higher and go through the supply area once more and eventually break above 400. And if we do, then we can retest finally the actual 200 SMA on the daily time frame that you guys can see here, this yellow line. And it's now curling below the 404 level, but I still have my target set on 404 if we do decide to make another leg higher. So that is my one side of the story here. Now the other side of the story, okay, the other 50, is that I'm a bit bearish too, because we've been consolidating, right? We've been consolidating. That's a fact here. However, on the intraday time frames and just on the daily time frame as well, we've been making lower highs. And the first high here was 402.31 on this candlestick. So with this high here, it looked like we made another lower high compared to Friday, right? And this could be another lower high, a second lower high compared to the first one here, if we decide tomorrow to not break Friday's high. And that will give us even more confirmation that we need to be bearish, especially if we don't go above Friday's high and if you can't hold that 395 level of support. And overall, like I said before, we are in a supply area. So it's going to be a huge contesting area between buyers and sellers as they try to figure out who is going to win the trend here to push the sellers or buyers out. So overall, I would say I'm just 50-50 here. And on a daily time frame, we can see that there is an ascending channel that's forming. And if you guys forgot, SPY loves to negate these inherently bearish chart patterns like a rising wedge or an ascending channel. So if you guys are, just wanting to play SPY on just one single biased outlook, be careful, because if you try to do that this week on such a very short week, it will cost you a lot. So make sure you guys are always having that two different perspectives, because the market is always in a dichotomy. All right. Now, the other risk of a movement to the downside is, well, I've explained this to you guys last week as well, but let me make sure I repeat myself so you guys understand and remember. If we do decide to break below 395, that's going to give us more of a reason to create another low that's lower compared to the previous week's low, which was on this candlestick of 390.14. And if you do that, then we'll be very, very close to this ascending support trend line that extends from the ascending channel chart pattern. And guess what? If we do start to come back down, we'll definitely retest the 21 SMA and bounce. That's a no-brainer. However, we're going to be very, very close to this gap up that we made that we never filled. And so if we start losing the uptrend to the downside, all right, there's a high probability that we can't see a fill of this gap up. And if we do fill in this gap, once the gap is filled, that's going to give leeway for more sellers to come in. Why? Because remember, a gap up was made by buyers. So if the price continues to move lower and fills in the gap that was made here by buyers, who are we pushing out? The buyers, right? And that means sellers will be in full control as we continue to move lower and fill in the gap that was made by buyers. All right. So watch out for this week if you do decide to suddenly have a huge increase in volatility and the price ranges for each trading day becomes very, very wide. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest, since we have such a short week and a holiday. So if that does happen, just watch out for a break below 395 if we do start to see a lot of selling come back in. All right. Okay, so our first name here is EE. So we've looked at this name before, right? It's an LNG name, liquefied natural gas, and this is a recent IPO. And I'm personally, I'm just smacking myself on the head here because I didn't grab it when it was below $20. And I was looking at this name, I was like, do I want to get some below $20? But I didn't, because whenever IPOs, well, names that are fresh like this, they start a new, larger trend to the downside or to the upside, they tend to go on forever, right? Until they hit this very high point or very low point. And I expected EE to have a lower low point than just $18. So I forgot about this name and I didn't look at this name further after I saw that it went below $20. So obviously this one has allowed itself to consolidate for the past couple of months since summer, since its low point in the summer, midsummer here. So as we start to consolidate, we made this very, very nice looking macro wedge chart pattern. And in this case here, I think there's going to be a good possibility for us to run up to the upside and break to the upside because, first of all, on the weekly time frame, we're seeing that the 10 and 21 SMAs are both curling higher, and the 10 SMA continues to support the price up. How? Well, we can see clearly that the price has come back down in the weekly 10 SMA and it bounces away from it. We saw that last week and 2 weeks before that as well. So if we're able to continue to stay above the 10 SMA, we should be able to see a nice breakout to the upside. Now, to kind of put the cherry on top here, the daily time frame is giving us even better technicals here. On Friday, we saw a huge pop to the upside with larger volume compared to the other previous days here. And we've defended the 10 and 21 SMAs. So for the fact that the 10 and 21 SMAs are also very, very close to each other and coinciding with each other here, I think there's going to be a very, very large impulsive breakout to the upside. And for the fact that the price has been consolidating, right? We've been consolidating between, I would say, broadly speaking, around 25 to 27 for the past couple of weeks. And the price, because of the fact that it's been consolidating between 25 and 27, we've been sticking and hugging very, very close to this descending level of resistance. So if we're able to push above 27.20 tomorrow, then this one is definitely going to start breaking out on the weekly time frame and on the daily time frame. And ultimately, I want to see it retest $30 and the all-time high number of 30.79. All right, so our second name here is NFE. So this one's also a LNG name, a liquefied natural gas name that we looked at with AE as well. So if you guys don't remember, make sure you guys go back to, I believe, I think it was mid-July. So mid-July, I believe I did put NFE in the newsletter, but these names have been on watch here because we've been preparing for energy names to start running up higher before quarter 3 started and before quarter 4 started as well. So EE, NFE, definitely two names that you guys have to be watching for LNG specific names. So NFE here, it's a bit more complicated than EE because yes, on the weekly time frame, you guys can clearly see I have drawn you guys a macro wedge chart pattern, right? However, it's not fully formed because we haven't been, completely, seeing a drop in volatility and the range, the price range on each week here, every single week is not getting lower, right? It's not decreasing. And the reason for that is that if we are going to see a completion of this wedge chart pattern, we should be seeing very, very tight price action every single week and very tight price ranges as we continue to come into this converging point, this potential converging point of these two trend lines, right? So this is what I'm envisioning here. Okay. So the price ranges should continue like this until it either breaks to the upside or to the downside. Now I wouldn't know that for now because of, like I said, this name hasn't completed its formation of this macro wedge chart pattern like EE has. So this week, NFE, I'm a bit bearish because on the weekly time frame, the 10 SMA has crossed below the 21. All right, so that's the first indication that we're losing momentum for buyers. And we saw a huge selling volume 2 weeks ago as well. So I would expect the sellers to still be here this week on a very short week. And if we do see more selling going on, I expect a rejection at 49 again. Or we continue to move to the downside and we break below last week's low of 46.16, and eventually we can see a retest of this ascending support trend line. However, okay, if we don't decide to start bouncing after retesting this ascending support trend line, which should give us a nice entry point at $44.50, because, well, frankly speaking, this ascending support trend line is coinciding with this macro weekly significant $44.50 level. Okay, this is a very, very significant support level. And if we do bounce here, then I can see another move up higher until we retest this descending level of resistance again, and we do the same process over and over again where we're bouncing between these two trend lines until we end up very, very close to that converging point of these two trend lines. Now, the only risk here for us, if we have that type of a thought and analysis in the near-term future, is that we could possibly be seeing a double top here. This is the first top and the second top, and that a double top chart pattern is inherently bearish. So if we don't hold the 44.50 level, and if we don't hold the retest of this ascending support trend line, then we'll definitely come back down and break below $44.50 and head all the way back down to $40 and eventually $38.50. Okay? So our third name here is HD. So HD here, we've already been in this name last week. We got a nice swing trade. We take profits on that, and on Friday we entered the same contracts, the same option contracts that we've been using to swing the first time. So hopefully we're getting 2 out of 2 for this name, as I'm expecting to see a nice breakout out of this ascending triangle chart pattern, which is a inherently bullish chart pattern. And for the fact that we've been forming and consolidating this chart pattern, right, is that we've allowed the 10 SMA to catch up after that big run on November 10th here on Thursday. So after this big run and impulsive breakout above the 200 SMA, this tells me that this one is ready to break above 316.50. And the fact that we're above all major SMAs now, and you don't see a lot of names that are above all the major SMAs here, the 10, 21, 50, and 200. So for the fact that we're seeing the 10 SMA catching up, the 21 SMA catching up, and the 200 getting very, very close to the 50 SMA. And why is that important? Well, since the 50 SMA is starting to curl upward and the 200 is still curling downward, right? It's still on average moving to the downside, tells me that there in the near-term future, there is a possibility for the 50 SMA to cross above the 200, creating what we call a golden cross. So that means in the long term, HD will have a nice uptrend to the for the long term, right? So for HD here, that's what I'm expecting. As well, if we do decide to break above 316.50 for this week. So watch out for this very, very significant level. And if we do decide to break above this 316.50 significant level, our first minimum target will be 320. And eventually, the next couple of weeks, I want this name to be retesting the 330.50-ish significant resistance level. And that's also where we've previously rejected as well. And the only reason why we rejected hard is that the 200 SMA was also residing in that 330.50 level. Okay, but for the fact that we've already moved above the 200 SMA gives us more confidence that this name is ready to continue up higher, especially as a value name. All right, so our fourth name here is XLV. So I know I've talked to you guys about XLV in the live stream as well in the Discord, but I want to quickly go over this one again. So healthcare is one of those value names as well, and a defensive name, a defensive sector. And if you take a look at the weekly time frame, what's the major difference between SPY and XLV, right? Well, SPY has been going to the downside. The trend has been clearly to the downside. However, for XLV, we've been going sideways. The price basically hasn't gone anywhere, especially the price that we ended up on Friday, right? We saw this price back in late 2021. So the price hasn't gone anywhere since last year, and it's almost a full year now. So for XLV here, if I go back in the daily time frame, the consolidation phase for the past year has allowed us to come back above the 133 to 134 level. And on Friday, after that nice initial push to the upside, and for the fact that the entire healthcare sector or industry has fared a lot better compared to SPY, just tells me that there is relative strength in this one. And we've bounced off of that 132 level, which is also coinciding with the 21 SMA on the daily time frame. So the momentum for buying is there. That's the reason why we've got a nice close to the upside and a nice gap up between Thursday and Friday's close. So this week, if we decide to break above 135 after days of consolidation here, then we'll see a nice move to the upside, and we'll push out the sellers that reside between 140 and 135. Right, so our fifth name here is Wix. Now, you guys know I love this name because I've been watching this one as this one sadly left without me, but fortunately I did not chase this one because we came right back down, we smacked back down, and we're back in that desirable breakout range again between 84 to 87. So first of all, I want to let you guys know that the SMAs have been reacting exactly how I predicted, because I drew this I believe a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. And I said that I want the 21 SMA to basically do this, right? I expect the 21 SMA to do this, where we start curling back to the downside a little bit, and then the 10 SMA starts to accelerate with the curling to the upside. And that's exactly what we got here. So if I remove this, okay, now that you guys saw my drawing, all right, okay, we're seeing that happen right now. And if the 10 SMA reaches the price first, without the price coming back down to retest the 10 SMA first, right, we should be able to see another breakout or potential breakout above 87.20, or we can see a nice bounce again this week, especially if we start to have consolidation throughout the entire market. Okay, so this one, definitely have your eyes on this one for a nice swing to the upside. All right, so number 6, we have SE here. So SE, this is an Asian company. This one has been influenced by China, even though this is a Singaporean company. But SE is an e-commerce company that has provided some really good numbers on its recent earnings, right? And as you guys already know, online activity and online buying and selling has been dropping. The volume, right, of transactions have been dropping as the demand dries up. But SE has shown us a pocket of fundamental strength here as a company. And thanks to that, we've been holding this earnings reaction gap up, which allowed us to close at 36.05% on this candlestick. So SE here, definitely this is a name that you guys should be watching in the next couple of weeks as we start to consolidate more and more between, I would say, $56 to $61. And that's the reason why I gave you guys these two entries, one at a bounce at 56, since we need to hold 56 in order for us to not start filling in this gap, to the downside, and I give you guys a confirmation entry to the upside if we do decide to break above 61, because if we do, then we'll head straight towards 64.20, and eventually we'll head back to the 70s. So SC here, definitely a bullish reaction and a bullish price action, just because of the fact that we're holding this gap up and we're consolidating, meaning that not a lot of sellers are present in this name, and we saw the volume drastically drop off, right? Meaning sellers are also not too interested in this name just yet, right? So as we consolidate, we will allow the 10 SMA to continue to move upwards, and the 21 SMA to start catching up with the price as well. All right, so our 7th name here is Baba. Baba also provided some pretty surprising results here. And, obviously they didn't have, the beat on revenue here, but the fact that we beat on earnings estimates, and we were pretty close with we're almost in line actually with the revenue estimates as well, was very, very surprising. So both SC and Baba are both e-commerce giants, and the fact that they've been kind of doing well, especially with the lockdowns that have been happening from China's zero COVID policy, is astounding, to be honest. And Baba here had a very, very good reaction, even better reaction than SC here. So we got a very, very large bullish engulfing candlestick compared to the previous candlestick right here. So for the fact that we had this candlestick forming on the earnings day as an earnings reaction just tells me that there may be a short stoppage of the bleeding that this name has been facing for over a year, right? Since last year actually. So it's almost more than 2 years now. So Baba, there can be potentially, finally, some relief here for long-term investors and buyers, and the fact that we've been seeing an increase in volume the past couple of weeks here since late October tells me that the bottom could be in for this stock here, and the earnings might have just sealed in the deal for buyers to continue to move the price higher and bid the price higher. Especially on Friday, we ended up with a nice inside candlestick after a huge wide price range day. So this inside candlestick is going to tell us whether or not we can see a nice movement to the upside and continuation to the upside until we reach 85 once more and break out above this critical level of resistance. But here's the thing, there is a possibility for us to gap up around 84, and we can see a candlestick like this, right, where we see a complete move to the downside, right, and we can see a nice bearish engulfing candlestick forming as well, because I've seen this happen where we kind of sandwich an inside day candlestick between two very wide range candlesticks, which end up being engulfing candlesticks, and we can see the price breaking to the downside because the second wide price range candlestick that forms ends up being a very bearish engulfing candlestick. So if this one turns red, okay, if you see a nice red candlestick to the downside, a nice engulfing, a bearish engulfing candlestick, this one will be in trouble, and we can start filling in the gap that we made over here. All right, so for now, just look out for a continuation run to the upside, since we did not see this happen last week, and instead we got a nice inside candlestick, which is an indication of a continuation to the upside. All right, for number 8 here, we have CELH. So we've been looking at this one for quite a long time here, for the past 2.5 weeks. And CELH, like I said, very, very strong fundamentals, very, very strong technicals here, as we've been looking and focusing on this very large macro cup and handle candlestick, chart pattern. And we've obviously formed this very nice cup. However, there's one thing that is bothering me about this cup. The fact that we've made such a deep cup just tells me that there are a lot of sellers in this name, right? And whenever I want a nice cup and handle, I want the cup to be as not deep as possible. So I want something like this, right? Where we have a cup here that's not as deep as the one that we're seeing on CELH. So that is my only concern for this macro chart pattern that we're seeing on the weekly time frame. And if we do decide to break below all the supports that we've been forming within the handle of the cup and handle chart pattern, will just confirm that this cup just had too big of a depth to the downside, and it's going to allow us to see another new downtrend for this name. So for CELH, that is our main concern. And on the daily time frame, if you go back to the daily, we've been struggling with this 100 level, the psychological whole number level, right? This is a golden price that every stock will aspire to want to go to, this 100 triple digit share price. And CELH has gotten up to this point, but it's been struggling to break above this 100 level because we have a very large and descending resistance trend line that's coinciding with this $100 level. So on Friday, for the fact that we pulled back pretty hard back to the previous level of resistance that we broke out of 94.50, just tells me that there is a possibility that we can revisit this descending level of support. But like I said, with all the other names that have been showing consolidation, the price has been allowing the 21 and the 10 SMA, or the 10 and 21 SMAs, to catch up. And in this case, we're seeing the same thing, right? We're seeing the same pattern here across all these names that I've chosen for you guys, right? They're showing really good relative strength, and my SMAs are starting to show some very good ideal situations for us to play off of. So the 10 SMA continues to cross above the daily 50 SMA, and the 21 SMA is starting to curl up higher and eventually will cross above the 50 SMA, just like how the 10 did on Friday. So this week, if we continue to consolidate underneath $100, we will eventually see the 10 SMA and the 21 SMA supporting the move up higher and providing more buying momentum to come back into this name so that we're able to break above $100. All right, so number 9 here, our ninth name here is MNST. So MNST, or Monster, is another beverage name that I've paired with CELH, Celsius. And the reason for that is that, well, MNST is looking so good on the weekly time frame. And I think I'm just going to focus on this name on the weekly time frame for this entire week, since especially we have a very short week. So with MNST here, Monster, I think if we do decide to break above this critical level of 100, and surprise, we're looking at the same level as we did on CELH, right? And so these two names will not be hard to remember for this week, and possibly it might be that this name can be our easiest trade for this week. And if we do break above 100, since we've been practically revisiting this 100 level multiple times, even if we haven't actually retested it multiple times in the past, we've just gotten very close, at least within the vicinity of this 100 psychological level. This tells me that for the fact that we want to break to the upside and have a very nice blue sky breakout, since we don't have any more historical data, because, well, this is our 4th time here, or 5th time, it doesn't really matter how many times you guys want to count. We've revisited the $100 level. All you guys need to know is that we have retested and came back to this level multiple times, which is showing us the desire by the price to eventually break above this critical psychological whole number level and break to the upside with a huge volume and eventually get into new all-time high levels. All right, so watch out for this psychological significant whole number level of 100. All right, so our last name here is MOS. So this is another name that I've been pairing up with CF, since both are leaders in the fertilizer industry or sector. So MOS here, after my 2 losses on CF, I'm looking to short MOS here as well because, first of all, technically everything looks bad, short term and long term. First of all, on the short term, the 10 and the 21 SMAs have been coiling together, and this is good because this is telling me that we're about to have an impulsive break to a trend, right? We're going to start a trend here. And I think we're going to start a nice downtrend because the 10 and 21 SMAs are now curling to the downside, and the 10 SMA has crossed below the 21. On the long-term perspective, though, now this is the most important one when we're comparing the short-term and the long-term. The 50 SMA has crossed below the 200 SMA once more. And just a few weeks back, okay, we had a cross of the 50 to the upside above the 200 SMA, giving us a nice golden cross. But after a few short weeks after, or a few trading days after, we saw the 50 SMA crossing below the 200, giving us what we call a death cross. So on the longer term perspective, including the short-term perspective, we are very, very bearish on this name. And for the fact that we had a very bad quarter here, right? A very bad quarterly results, okay? Just gives us more of a, evidence for us to be a bit biased to the downside. So on the technical side as well, we've been making this ascending channel. And for the 4th time, last week on Thursday and Friday, we have retested this ascending support trend line, while on the other hand, we've only retested the ascending resistance trend line 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. So for the fact that we have more retests on a support level than a resistance level, tells me that sellers are a lot more stronger here and they have more control of the price. So if we do decide to break below this ascending support trend line this week, then we'll see a nice push to the downside and eventually possibly a hit around 46.50 or around $46. All right, so that is it for this week. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up down below if you guys enjoyed the names that I've given you for this week. But like I said, the reason why I gave you guys 10 names here to look at along with SPY is that because of the fact that we have such a short week, I want you guys to consider some of these names to look for you guys to look at for the next couple of weeks and eventually into the end of this year. All right, so make sure you guys set up your alerts on these names and especially add these names to your watch list. All right, have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys in the CFO live stream on YouTube tomorrow, the private live stream. So make sure you guys are up early in the morning to watch. And good luck trading tomorrow. I'll see you guys next week.